What's up, guys? Thanks so much for joining us on the Faithful Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Alex Van Houten, and I'm joined by an amazing individual that I can't wait to have a great conversation with, Miss Torie Lin. Tori, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome, awesome. I want to introduce you to our audience so that they know what I know about you, and then we can get into this conversation. So, Torie Lin is a faith-based fitness coach who helps women break free from the cycles of obsessing over or neglecting their bodies. She equips them with the tools they need to build lasting health through exercise, simple nutrition, and renewing their minds for kingdom work. I am so stoked to that's it. I'm just kidding. This is great. And now, Tori, as I get to know you here and as we have our conversation today, I just want to understand how you got into doing what you're doing, because I know how I got where I am doing what I'm doing, and it's a very interesting road. And so I'd love to hear, how did you find yourself as the mother of your children, homeschooling, living in Utah, and coaching individuals and helping them in a Christian, biblically based way to steward their bodies well? What's that story?
Yeah, I always, anytime I'm asked, I'm like, okay, do I share the long version or the short version? Because there's always the details and all of that. But for time's sake, I'll keep it, the shorter version. So as most moms, well, let me rewind that just a little bit. So I've been active my whole life. My family is super active. My parents are still very active, and so they kept us active as kids. My brother played sports. I was in dance, competitive dance, and so we wakeboarded. My brother skateboarded. Like, we just did all the things. And so being active was always a part of my life. But
Mm,
once I went to college, you kind of start to neglect a little bit. I gained the freshman, I'd say 20, not 15, but the freshman 20, just like food freedom, all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of getting off of a cycle of yo-yo dieting through high school. And so in college, I was like, forget it. Like, I'm so tired of chasing a number. And so I just kind of went the other way. Instead of obsessing, it was the neglecting. And then my husband and I got together my senior year of college, and I was like, all right, I'm getting married. Like, I gotta like whip it into shape. And so I did. Like, that was like my external motivation. But then I had kids, and you gain the weight, you lose the weight, gain the weight, lose the weight. I did it, I would say, in a healthy way with my first, but my second child, it went back to the neglect of, like, of course I had a toddler and stuff, but it was just kind of like, whatever. But it was after I had my second that I felt the difference between the two. Like, just physically, I felt the
mm,
difference of, whoa, I took care of myself for the first and I didn't as much for the second. And man, I felt the difference. So then my third, I had her when I was 20. Well, I was 29, had her when I was 30. And I was like, I'm not like, I felt the difference. I'm not going to go in the way of just neglecting myself. So I did. I took care of myself. And it was after her that I was like, externally, like, I always say, it was a very vain reason. I wanted to get in the best shape of my life. I was like, I'm done having kids.
mm,
Like, here we go. Let's buckle it up. Let's do it. And I did. But it was, like I said, for vanity's sake. And I've been a believer my whole life. But, there's always room to grow, and there's sanctification and all of that. But after I had her and I got into shape, I feel like I probably overdid the exercise and underate. And so then my
mm,
body was fighting back against me for a little bit. But it wasn't until, so I had her in 2014. I was doing all of that, getting in shape. People were asking me, what are you doing? How are you losing the weight? Like, you look so great. And I was like, oh, and so I'd give them advice and all of that stuff. And I fell in love with coaching. I fell in
mm,
love with teaching. And I wasn't certified at the time, but just telling people what I was doing. And I was like, you know what? I love this. I want to get certified. So around 2015, 2016, I got certified. And I was like, let's make this a career. Like, I love people. I love coaching. I love teaching. I just love helping.
mm,
But at that time, it was more, my programs were more, I would say fitness with Jesus sprinkled in. Jesus wasn't really the center, but he was there, right?
Hmm.
And so fast forward to like 2019, I went through a faith and fitness certification. It's called Revelation Wellness. And that totally changed my outlook on how I would do faith and fitness. I knew I would do faith and fitness, but I didn't know what it looked like. And after I came out of that, and God just really used that ministry and that tool to kind of rewire myself and how I thought of fitness and
Hmm.
faith together, I was like, I can't go back. So I changed my program name. I redid all of like how I teach and everything. And now it's more Christ-centered and like God at the center. And then everything else kind of falls into place. I always come back to seek first the kingdom of God. We do that in our health and fitness too. Like seek him first, not let's do the fitness and change our bodies and then we'll add Jesus in. But like, no, Jesus comes first. Seek first the kingdom first. So that's kind of a little bit in a nutshell of how I got to where I am and just the evolution of the faith and fitness kind of coming together.
That's such a powerful story, and you did a great job making it like succinct. Because I understand, they say the devil's in the details. I say Jesus is in the details.
That's
Because you
so
can you
true.
can you can dig into the details and find how God's kind of helped to guide you
Yeah.
on the path, both physically but also spiritually. Now
Yeah.
you said you have three kiddos. Is that right? Are you a
Yep.
boy mom, girl mom? Do you have a mix?
I have a mix. I have girl, boy, girl.
Oh man, poor
And
guy.
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
well, he is our comedian. He is the funny one. My husband does not like it because my husband wants to be the funny one, but all of us are like, no, no, no. And his name's Andrew. We're like, no, Andrew's the funny one.
Andrew's
So
got the jokes,
he
huh?
fits in there just perfect. We're right in the middle. He's a good little middle guy.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, thank you, first of all, for being a mom, and also thank you for your work in ministry because, my wife, she's actually employed by the church. She's a children's ministry
Mm,
pastor. I say
yeah,
I'm her faithful plus one. The church
yeah,
got two for the price of one with me,
yeah,
with me
yeah,
because that, I'm there regardless whether it's men's ministry or
yeah.
children's ministry. It's a very powerful part of what we do in our day to day. But I know as a parent, juggling your personal health and wellness and parenthood, and I understand you homeschool. Is that still true?
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, so you homeschool and you're dedicated to ministry both professionally and in your community. So I just want to say from Christian brother to sister, thank you for what you do. Keep it up.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
going to
I
be
appreciate
a
that.
big impact in the world all around. So I want to ask you some questions to help the moms specifically who are listening to this podcast. And I know if you're a dad listening to this podcast, I don't want you to tune out. I think that if you are a husband supporting your wife in her health and fitness journey, understanding some of the struggles that she wrestles with from a psychological perspective, and
Mm,
even sharing this podcast episode with her would be a powerful way to help her make some steps in aligning her physical and spiritual health. So
hmm.
if you don't mind, can we dig into that? Because I think that's
Yeah,
so important.
yeah, absolutely.
So what was the shift for you? Because you said after your third child
Hmm.
that you saw progress and you fell in love with helping coaching, and then somewhere in there something happened where your health and fitness journey shifted such that you were willing to take on that Revelation Fitness certification. And I know that education had a role to play in your faith and fitness, but what was the shift for you in your life where you were like, you know what? This isn't about how I look in the mirror or
Yeah.
how my body appears in my clothes or anything like that. This is actually a spiritual thing that I'm working out in my walk. What was that shift for you?
Yeah, definitely going through that certification, but then, excuse me, applying the knowledge because I feel like we gain so much knowledge and understanding, but we are in an abundance of knowledge, but so many times we don't apply it. And I even see this with my clients of they know what to do. It's just
Mm,
doing the thing. And so after 2019, I actually started, I was only doing online coaching at the time. But we know what happened in 2020. We had
Hmm.
that shift. And so a lot of people, I already had it set up for online. So I was like, all right, let's go, like taking everyone in. And I actually started in January of 2020. I started teaching in-person classes, not online. And
Wow.
so when COVID happened, I had to make the shift back to primarily online, which was great because I was already set up for it.
Hmm.
But I had this desire, like God had put this desire in my heart to teach in-person classes. And so I was in Florida at the time, and so Florida was a little bit more lenient, I guess,
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
their lockdowns and all that stuff. And so we kept going with our in-person classes. And that to me was that shift of seeing my participants, my students needing that connection, needing that in-person accountability, faith connection. And so that was like that light bulb of we need this. Like the world was shutting down, but we were still going.
Right.
And my people were thriving. And they were like, how can we continue doing this? So, and our church was great of like, hey, you can use the gym because Florida in the summer is really hot. So they let us use the gym and we spread out and we tried to be mindful of that. Like we weren't reckless with it. We were trying to be mindful of it, but we kept meeting. And man, I just saw people continue to transform because we were still meeting together, because we were still coming together. And in my classes, I do faith and fitness. So we do a Bible verse in the classes. We come together at the end and share prayer requests and praises and we get to celebrate. So that was kind of the shift of that. And then after that, once kind of things got back to normal, was noticing how when we move our bodies and we hear scripture or we're working out to worship music or Christian music, it changes our perspective. And so I started teaching more of, like you said, worship through our movement and not focusing on what we're doing for the outside. Like, that's great. That will happen in time. But if we change our mindset to, hey, can I offer my body as a living sacrifice? Can I use my body to worship God through the movement rather than trying to desire that outward, appearance or the outward outcome?
Hmm.
It changes your perspective in movement and even just how you feed your body too, how you fuel yourself.
Hmm. While you were speaking, the verse that came to mind was from Hebrews. Let us not forsake the gathering together
Yeah.
as some are in the habit of doing. And there is really just something about that gathering together
Yeah.
that's powerful and important. And I appreciate the you mentioned how for the students that were working with you that coming together where there was an intersection of faith and fitness, it sounded like they wanted to keep doing it, which is
Hmm.
that's a really important part of this thing in the health and fitness world, both from a marketing and from a scientific perspective. There's so much we know about exercise and nutrition nowadays
Yeah.
that like it can run your head in circles, and they're not to mention all the influencers putting stuff out in the world that could also be very confusing and
Yeah.
maybe may or may not apply to you. But for many individuals, knowing what to do
Mm.
and knowing where to start is really not that hard. But the inspiration or the motivation or the accountability or the support, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
for many that's really lacking. So it sounds like you found a lot of transformative power in meeting together and seeing how that was effective and helpful for your community. Does that sound appropriate?
Yeah, well, and think about when all of that was going on. I hate to go back to that time, but it helps us moving forward, right? We
Hmm.
learn from hard things. So in that time, there was so much confusion and anxiety around COVID and what was going on. And so when people could come together and move their bodies and work these things out and
Hmm.
renew their minds with scripture and be together with people, we know that exercise helps us with that. It helps us
Hmm.
have those endorphins. It helps us release some of that stress and that tension. And so for them, it was a way for them to continue to keep doing that, but together, not, we tried it on a screen. We tried to do Zoom and it did
It's
not
not the
work.
same. It's not the
No,
same.
it's not the same. But, and I will say this, that we had someone in our group actually lose her 4-year-old daughter in that summer of 2020
Mm.
to cancer. And just to see the community come together and support her and these ladies just rally around her, like it's so much more than just exercise. It's so much more than just, moving your body. That's great. Like you can get that anywhere, but to move it in a way of like one, the community, but two, bringing God, and like God is at the center of this. It's just so different. It's so much more impactful, so much more meaningful when you can do that together. And then also when those hard times come, you can support your sisters or your brothers or whatever
Hmm.
along that journey. So I always say, like, yeah, the fitness part, it's important, but it's kind of secondary, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Well,
Secondary
that's what Paul
to
taught us, that
exactly.
the exercise of the physical body was productive, but not so productive as the exercising of the spiritual
Yep.
self as well.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to address that because there might be some ladies listening to this right now that are like, okay, well, my church isn't that cool, or or maybe I don't have a gym around me that's based in Christian fitness. For instance,
Yeah.
I was actually recording for a corporate account that I have to put a bunch of exercise videos out there, and we found this I didn't find it, I wasn't part of the production process, but they found this really cool looking gym aesthetically. It was called Torture Fitness. And if you're listening to
Oh.
this and you've been to Torture Fitness, it's just as bad as it sounds. They had
Yeah.
like the worst gangster. I'm not even old enough to hear what I heard, and I have kids, so I'm not even old enough to hear the music I was listening to. They're like the whole vibe was like, oh, I left there with
Yeah.
a migraine. It was terrible.
Mm.
But for many people, that's the gym scene. That's
Yeah.
the when they say go to the gym and work out, like it's not really like a very godly environment.
Yeah.
So when you work with ladies, what is your advice for where they're at? Because I know on Instagram or via your podcast, you might be connecting with people who aren't in Utah with you, and so they
Yeah.
can't come to your group setting. How are you helping ladies either find community, or how are you helping instruct them to build community? Because as I understand it, it's not hard to invite somebody to come walk with you with your
Yeah.
toddler, or it sounds hard, but
Yeah.
it's not that hard. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It definitely does take getting out of your comfort zone to, like you said, go for a walk with someone. With us being new in Utah, we've only been here for a few months, and I've had to step out of my comfort zone and put it in our neighborhood community thing of like, hey, does anyone want to go for a walk? So it does take being vulnerable, and it does take putting yourself out there. But going back to what you're saying about in the actual gym scene, like every time we step into a place like that, we are the light. So we have to remember that of like, we're being the light, we're being the kingdom every time we step into these places that are not godly or are not putting Christ first. If you don't have a gym that is, faith-based or many believers in it, then we kind of have to be the light in how we dress, how we talk, how we act, even what we're listening to. We can tune out what's going on around us if we can put our headphones in. And if we can't, I say, like, I like to pray while I'm working out. For me, it's a time to just like, one, sometimes it's like, Lord, help me get through this set.
Right?
and then and then sometimes it's like, God, help me to see myself as you see me. Help me not to beat myself up because I'm not hitting the numbers I want to hit, or I'm not feeling the greatest that I feel today. Like, Lord, help me you know, to see myself as you see me, or to see myself as your child and not put my worth in the numbers, whether it's on the scale or on the weights, whatever it is. Like, help me, God, in those moments. And then just like coming back to Him, like it's continual. I can catch myself of beating myself up or looking in the mirror, whatever it is, and like, nope, I gotta catch myself. learn to recognize that, and then always like just keep coming back to him.
Mm,
And then the other thing is, if you can, like I worked, the reason why I got started online was because I was at home with my baby and my toddler. And so I couldn't take her to the gym. I didn't want to pay for the childcare, but two, I didn't want to chance it when she was really little. And then I
right.
had more and more. And it was like, that just gets really costly. So I started doing at home online workouts myself. And then that's what led me to being a coach online because
Mm,
I wanted to meet women where they were at. I was like, hey, let's do this together. And so I'd form groups. And so that's another thing. Like, even if you didn't use my program, but someone who
mhm.
it's growing. The faith and fitness community is growing.
Amen.
And so there are a lot of people out there who do offer that option of, hey, if you're at home or you want to work out at home, or you're a mom and you got your toddlers running around. I remember my early days, my kids are in my videos like running around, but
Uh-huh.
I wanted to show that because I'm like, look, this is real
This is real
life.
life. Yep.
Yes, your workout will not be perfect, an hour. Oh, let me stretch, let me do this. It's like, hey, do what you can,
It's a little
right?
messy. Every once in a while, you're
Ex-
doing push-ups and the toddler jumps on your
Yep,
back. It's like, I guess we're
exactly.
doing weighted push-ups.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah. Or even like when I started recording videos to post online, my kids would come in and I'm like, well, it is what it is. Like, but
Here we are.
I wanted that real life for my clients too, to be
Hmm.
like, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm doing the best that I can too. So
Hmm.
anyways, that's what I would say to both. If you're going in person, be the light, keep your
Mm.
eyes on Christ. And then if you're at home, like there are places that you can join communities that do keep Christ first
Hmm.
and have that God first mentality through the faith and the health, or I'm sorry, the fitness and the health and the wellness.
And one of the spiritual disciplines, you actually spoke about this on your podcast, one of the spiritual disciplines that I recognize is hospitality. Now, we
Yeah.
generally think of that with regard to meals, right? But us crazy
Yeah.
fitness people, which we're working to change the moniker, but us crazy fitness people, we can invite you for a workout at our house, right?
Yep.
So if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I don't really have a faith community to do this with, but I might be able to invite a mom in my community to come to my house, bring her kids. Maybe they can go play in the playroom. Maybe they can come jump on our backs while we're doing our cardio in the
Yeah.
living room. But
Yeah.
but today there really is no reason not to pursue some sort of instruction with the
Yeah.
resources that we have available to us. So I appreciate that. That's such an encouraging message, and I appreciate you addressing
Yeah.
any moms here who are like, dang it, man, I'd love to be in Utah with a faith-based fitness instructor down the road, but I don't have that. So I'd
Yeah.
like to switch gears just a little bit and talk about, I don't know what else to call it. Mom guilt is that thing
Yeah.
when it comes to investing in oneself, right? Because I was talking to a mom recently, and I coach moms and dads. I'm familiar with coaching both. I can't speak as a mom. I don't know what that's like. I can tell you about my wife's
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
but she was talking about how when feeding her kids, she knows that some of the things they're eating is not bad for their growth and their activity, right? So let's say mac
Mhm.
and cheese. Is that the most healthy thing to feed your child? Not really, but they've got little glycogen stores. They're running all over the place. It's not the
Yeah.
worst thing either. It's not like,
Yeah.
as long as they're being active, it's not really going
Yeah.
to bother them too much. However, for our bodies, we might not need that high energy density, that low nutrient density source of carbohydrates and stuff. And she was saying, I feel a little bit of guilt around eating in a way that's really healthy for me, and taking that extra time and taking those extra resources, or in the
Hmm.
same way for exercise, saying, hey, your kids, especially if you've got little ones, they always need you.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the momming never stops. It's a
No.
24/7 job for sure.
Yep.
And so saying, hey, I need 20 minutes. I need 30 minutes. And maybe they'll run in and out, but I'm going to take that opportunity to focus on taking good care of me, of stewarding
Yeah.
my physical body. How do you articulate in your life, and then also maybe to your clients, mom guilt is not of God in that
Mm.
respect. That is not, I would almost even say that's That is a diabolical attack on something that would actually be really good for you.
Yeah.
But how do you think about that, and how do you speak about it?
Yeah, well, first of all, mom guilt, mom shame it's real. It's a real thing. Like I remember I would feel bad just going to the grocery store by myself and like trying to rush to get, I know moms out there like shaking their head. Yes, I would rush to get home because I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I can't take this time, and I'd try to get home as fast as possible when my kids were real little. Now I take my time. I'm like, let me just like I'm like, he's good, and they're
He'll be
older,
fine.
but
Yeah.
but you learn over time, right? You learn that you need that time. And so when it comes to, I'd say first with the food and everything, we lead by example, right? And so when our kids are little, of course, there's going to be times where they're like mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, and that's all that they want. They're eating. Like, don't beat yourself up. Now you can choose maybe better options as far as there are chicken nuggets that are a little bit better. You can make homemade ones. There's mac and cheese that's a little bit better. I just saw one now. I forget what it's called. It's at Costco, but it's like a protein one, mac and cheese. I'm like, well, there you go. Like
Sweet.
it's a little bit better, or you could make homemade, just so there's always a little bit better that we can do. But the thing is, don't beat your like your kid is eating. Like that is great. Over time, as they get older, they will start to see how you are eating, how your family, let them try things. I know that my son used to not be picky, and now he's 13 and he is super picky. And I'm like,
Oh
dude,
man.
just try it. I'm like, just try it. And so he tries it, and sometimes he'll be like, oh, it's not bad. And sometimes he'll be like, I don't really like it. And I know there's no pressure for him to eat it. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like you might like it one day. But he knows as a family, like we're eating as healthy as we can. Of course, it's not perfect.
Sure.
But we're eating and I try and educate them, right? Like this will make you feel better. This will help your brain. Like I try not to talk in terms of good, bad, good food, bad food, just try and this will fuel you well. This will give you energy, that kind of thing. So, we got to let go of the mom guilt of I'm not giving them the perfect thing. Like you're doing the best that you can. And that is great. So
Hmm.
as far as the ourselves, so sometimes we can put the guilt on ourselves of, well, I feel bad for taking an hour to myself or taking, whatever time it is to get in a workout. My family needs me. Well, guess what? They do need you, and they need you to be healthy and to be well. And
Hmm.
so what I always say with the movement part is we don't do exercise for vanity's sake. At least that's what I don't feel like God wants us to do. He doesn't want us to do it for vanity's sake. It's for ability. And so when we are taking care of our bodies and our temples and fueling ourselves, we are better able to serve our families or
Hmm.
to serve our communities, to be able to show up well, to have clarity of mind, to feel good. If we don't feel good, we're not going to respond well. We're not going to move well throughout our day, whatever it is. So the shift from I feel like society, it's all about vanity, but in the kingdom, it's not about vanity. How about we switch it to ability?
Hmm.
Let's take care of ourselves so we can show up for our families.
Hmm.
I'm sure you've heard the quote, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Hmm.
Well, I like to take it a step further and say, actually, we pour from the overflow. So the more we're filled, obviously with God first, but taking care of ourselves, that just spills out. And it's just
Hmm.
the overflow that spills onto our family that pours out into our family. Because think about it, if you pour into a cup and then you empty it and drain it out, then you're drained and then you have to refill the cup and then you do that. Where if we're filling ourselves, we pour out from the overflow of that. Now,
Hmm.
obviously there's seasons. Like I've been through seasons where I'm like drained. I'm done. I can't do any more. But then there's seasons where I am overflowing. So we have to give ourselves grace in that too of it's not going to be this linear thing. It's going to be the highs and the lows and but we just keep going and we just keep moving forward the best that we can in that season.
Hmm. Hmm. And I imagine that for you, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but I imagine for you that that's seasoned in prayer, right? So the question is,
Yeah.
Lord, am I doing the best with what you've given me?
Yep.
Are you pleased with how I'm using my body? Is there another way I can worship you in this area, right?
Yeah.
I know the prayers that I pray as a father and a husband and as a man, but I'm curious about the prayers that you pray that lead you in that direction. If you're willing to share, and I know that's deeply personal, but at the same time, if you've come to a place where God's spoken to your heart about how your body is His temple, and how you can be a good mom and a good wife and a good minister in your community, how you can do those things using what He's given you. That
Hmm.
obviously, in my mind, that obviously has a deep foundation in prayer. So are there
Yeah.
some prayers that you pray that help to open you to what God's teaching you about your body,
Hmm.
so that when you go, okay, what do I need to be up to today?
Yeah.
He can inform that practice for you.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me is just daily. It's just a day because we can make all the plans that we want, think about future, but it's like I get overwhelmed if I think too far in the future or like all these things. I'm a visionary. I'm a goal setter, goal getter. But in the day to day, especially being a mom and with my family, it's like every morning I just have to say, okay, God, how can I show up best for today? And what does that look like? One, for my family, but also for myself. And it did take me, oh man, like I said, my oldest is 15, my youngest is 10. So it probably took me a good, oh, I don't even know, maybe 8 years to get to the point of I do have to have things for myself. I do have to, yes, not separate. I'm always going to be a mom, but I have
Hmm.
to have things for myself.
Hmm.
And so, God, what does that look like for me today? Not tomorrow, not in the future, but today. What does that look like for me today to show up the best I can for my family, but also for myself and how you would teach me for this day?
Hmm.
But then I think one of the bigger things is, man, we beat ourselves up so much about what we look like. I just saw a thing about, oh man, I can't remember the statistic, but it was something about like 78 or 70% of people, or no, 70% of Google searches are, why do I hate my body? Like that is just heartbreaking that
Hmm.
we just don't like our bodies when God has given us this vessel and this tool to share His light and to share His glory. Like that's what our bodies are for, is to share His glory through us. So that's another one of the prayers is, God, help me to see myself as you see me today
Hmm.
in this moment, whatever it is. Like, help me to see myself as you see me and as you created me to walk in your goodness and your purpose, not anyone else's. Because we compare so much, and social media has made it 10 times worse.
Even harder, yeah.
Yeah, where we're scrolling and we're like, oh man, well, she's got a great body. Or, oh man, she's lifting this weights. I mean, even with that stuff. Or, oh, she's such a good mom. Oh, her house is so tidy and well kept and decorated. Like the comparison has just like boom, like beat us down.
Hmm.
So, anyways, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but yeah, just going back to, God, help me to see myself, my body as you would see it, you create it, but also help me to see myself as the mom you just designed me to be. Help me not Susie, not Sally down the street, like myself, Lord, how you gave me these children. This is why I always tell the moms in my groups, God gave you those kids for a reason. He didn't
Hmm.
give you the kid down the street. Like he entrusted you to these children with their certain personality and their quirks because he knew that you were the one to steward these children. And
Hmm.
so if we're comparing to other people, we're not stewarding what he's given us to the best of our ability. So
Hmm.
one, help me see myself as you see me, God, my body, how you design me, my personality, whatever, but also as a mom, help
Hmm.
me to live that out as best as I can, how you designed me, not what anyone else is telling me to be.
I love that. Thank you so much. There's so much grace in that. And
Yeah.
when Christ was asked what the greatest commandments were, he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he said, and the second one's like it, to love your neighbor as
Yeah.
yourself. And easily as parents, we can do that backwards. We can be like, I'm going to love my kids really,
Yeah.
really well, and then I'll love God. And
Yep.
what's unfortunate about that, that's actually where the whole being burnt out and empty thing comes from. Because if we're spending time in God's presence and if we're close to our Father, what that means is we will see ourselves more as He sees us. And
Hmm.
how does He see us? Love. That's what Christ's message was. He's a loving Father. He loves
Hmm.
us. He made you for a reason. He made your body the way it is on purpose. You may or may not have taken great care of it, but we'll figure it out. But he loves you. And through that love, through that abundance of love, then you can love others in your
Yeah.
life the way He loves you. And that is the source. I love those prayers. Thank you so much for sharing those.
Yeah. Well, and think about it too, that verse, it says, love others as you love yourself.
Hmm.
Like, think about that practically. If we were to love others how we loved ourselves, it probably wouldn't look great because sometimes we don't love ourselves. We don't
Hmm.
treat ourselves as God would want us to. So think about that too. Like, oh man, if I'm pouring out and loving others, but not myself, we're actually not listening to that command.
Yeah, that's very, very well said. And that's not a new agey idea to love yourself well, quote unquote. It's
Exactly.
not like treat yourself. We got you
No.
a little
Oh,
manicures
yeah.
or whatever that is. I can't even remember that show. Anyway, if I'm connected deeply with God, the idea of loving myself is not arrogant or prideful.
No.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's saying I see myself the way my Father sees me. and
Hmm.
and that takes time and energy in a day.
It
Okay,
does.
it
Yeah.
takes time and energy. You joked earlier about well, I don't know if you joked or not, but you spoke about how when you work out you pray sometimes, and sometimes the prayer sounds like, God, help me with this set. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm going to make it. I have a funny story about training an atheist at one point in my career, and he was going up a hill, and at the very top of the hill, he's like, "Oh my God," and he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I was like, I'm no offense. That to me, that was a very heartfelt prayer. Like,
Hmm.
Lord,
Yeah.
help me. And it always cracked me up that the physical limits of our ability can bring us to a place where even if we don't profess a belief in the divine, we're still looking for help. Like,
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
not enough. I need something to intervene here, right? But when we exercise, we do have the opportunity in that space to see ourselves like God sees us. Thank you for the body you've
Hmm.
given me. Thank you that it's still moving. Thank you that I'm still breathing today. I can
Yeah.
I can I can make the most of it. And Lord, help me not be so sore tomorrow. Possibly
Yeah.
that would be great, right?
Yeah.
But I love your message. It's very graceful, and I appreciate it very much. If you don't mind, I'd like to switch gears and talk a bit about the church as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, just so my listeners know, and so you know, I'm speaking from the perspective of somebody who spends about 15 to 20 hours a week pouring into our local church.
Hmm.
I love our community. We go to a non-denominational church, but as far as the podcast is concerned, if you come from a Baptist background or a Catholic background, as long as your goal is to follow Jesus, I think we can speak on the same level. And
Hmm.
the I see in the church both a pain and an opportunity. The pain is, from a bodily perspective, many people in the church do not see their body as aligned with their spirit. So the
Mm.
diet culture, the vanity culture, the modern medical, there's a pill for everything, that exists in the church. In some ways, not any different from outside of the church, in my
Hmm.
experience.
Yeah.
And I see that as a pain. I see that, it hurts me to see somebody praying for relief from pain or praying
Yeah.
for physical healing from disease, and then also to see them eat 12 oatmeal cream pies at our next prayer meeting.
Yeah.
The person eating the cream pie and the church who provided them going, here you go, diabetics, here's cream
Yeah.
pie, although
Yeah.
I
So
understand
true
that you're
though.
praying for disease, right? And so there's a pain there, I see. And then I see an opportunity, and the opportunity is, in this conversation, it might be easy for somebody to listen in and say, well, it's easy for you fitness people to talk about God loving you. You're eating well, you're exercising, but I'm a slob, I'm lazy, I'm
Hmm.
whatever you think about yourself in that vein, it's hard to
Hmm.
feel
Hmm.
lovable. But our salvation is not contingent on our physical body. Salvation was bought through Christ's blood, and our following him, our declaration of his lordship, is salvation. That's what we understand. We don't have to earn our
Yeah.
way into heaven through push-ups, right?
Yeah.
But the opportunity is that we do have an opportunity for discipleship. We have an
Yeah.
opportunity for making the most of this gift we've been given, and for spreading the good news and being a light in the world, right? So we have this opportunity with our body in the church, but we also have this pain that it's not common parlance. It's just not. Even in my
Hmm.
church, where my wife is a registered dietitian and the children's ministry pastor, and we're really, when we go to church functions, we bring the salads and
Yeah.
we bring the clean proteins and stuff. Even in our church, it's not a regular thing culturally speaking. So I guess my question to you is, if I'm a Christian following the journey of understanding how to align my body and my spiritual walk, what are
Mm.
some ways that I can bring that into my church community that would be edifying, but
Hmm.
also not just good for me, good for my church family?
Yeah. Man, that's still a hard one. So I worked at my church in Florida before we moved. I was a discipleship coordinator there.
Mm,
And so being in that church setting, it was so hard and disheartening to see the snacks, like you said, donuts and like all the time. It was always sugary, high processed stuff. And it broke my heart of like, this is what we're offering people as a snack, but I think because it's still this taboo thing of, well, if I exercise, if I diet, which I don't believe in diets, but if I eat well, like you said, I'm this crazy fitness person, or it's vanity, right? Well, I shouldn't be thinking
mm,
about that because it's vanity. But man, if you have a church of healthy believers, a healthy body, both spiritually and physically, how much more can we do or can we serve or reach our community? Instead of trying to take care of the sick within our church, we
mm,
actually can go out and help take care of the sick that are not in the church.
mm,
So yeah, I totally get it. We're actually church planters out here in Utah too. So we have a big heart for the church, as a whole, just, the big church, also the local church,
yeah,
but
right. Big C
big
church.
church as a whole too. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm probably not answering your question, but
It's a hard question. I don't know if
yeah,
there's a very easy answer to it, but I still wanted to hear your heart and your thoughts on it, because I know
yeah,
I
I
know that
think,
you're doing the same thing I'm doing in my community for your community, and
yeah.
and it's hard to articulate exactly what that looks
It's
like.
hard because you do get labeled as the fitness person but I think the more you can have conversations with people, just the people you do life with, right? Your
Hmm.
small groups, if you're in staff, like just having normal conversations, it does start to bleed into other people. It does start to bleed into your congregation, and people do start to catch on to it a little bit. But I found that it's harder for the older generation because I would say like 50 and up, because they have been in diet culture for so long, but there have also been cycles of like the 90s, the low fat, the snack wells,
Mm.
those diets. Then it went to, oh goodness, I'm trying to think of all just the different keto, or not keto, what's it called? The Atkins diet. Like there's been all these things. And so my thing is to have more conversations about, hey, healthy habits, healthy living, not necessarily fad diets or this program or this thing, but like,
Hmm.
hey,
Hmm.
what are the things that you are doing daily to just keep your body healthy, to keep your mind healthy? I feel like sleep and stress are so overlooked as part of the health, component, that, okay, yeah, we focus on diet and exercise, but what about these other areas that are really important too? So, anyways, all that to say that I feel like just having more just normal conversations with people, asking questions. I like to get curious with people.
Hmm.
I don't like to try and preach at them or, tell them they're doing this wrong or whatever, unless they ask me and I'm like, okay, do you want my opinion?
Do you really want? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I try and ask questions. Well, why do you want to lose weight? Why do you feel like
Mm.
this is a good option to bring to the or whatever? Just getting curious about it and having more conversations about it. The other thing, and this is a whole nother topic, but this really breaks my heart in that if we don't start changing this outlook on health and wellness and fitness within the church, it's going to get passed down to younger generations
Hmm.
and they're going to repeat the same thing.
Yes.
So I just had a young adult youth leader text me from Florida, and she said there's a girl that she's working with that's struggling with an eating disorder. And I'm like, oh, this is why the church needs to be talking about their
Hmm.
bodies and talking about your body is good and talking about health and wellness and taking care of it. Because if
Hmm.
we don't, that next generation is going to repeat the same things. And yes, we're sinful. Nothing's going to be perfect until Jesus comes back, right? But we can help that next generation see themselves in a different way, help walk them through those things because we're healthy, we're taking care of ourselves, we're doing it for ability's sake, not vanity's sake, and then we can pass that to the next generation coming up.
Hmm. Hmm. Very well said. Very well said. We practice that a lot from a children's ministry perspective.
Yeah.
For instance, all of our activities are usually sports active. We're out there playing kickball, we're out there playing frisbee and stuff, and sometimes we'll have volunteers who will come in and like, man, you got to be in great shape to be in children's ministry. I'm like, yeah, you got to be in great shape to be a parent. Like,
Yeah.
can you handle a day keeping up with any of your kids if your poor body isn't on board? And I know
Hmm.
we all, just because we have to get older doesn't mean we have to fall apart, but
Yeah.
the when we do that and we show, I believe when we show our children that being together in community is fun,
Hmm.
that we can be competitive and Christ-like at the same time, that being able to dance around and jump and run and all those
Yeah.
things, that God made us for that, and that's something we can also do in community. For me personally, I like to, when I'm discipling young men, especially, they were like, "Hey, I have this issue. I'd really like to go to breakfast or coffee with you." And I'm like, "That's cute. Join me at the state park fasted." And so they
Mm,
show up and we go for a hike, and I have a
yeah.
I have a waterfall I like to pray at, and I like to understand where they're coming from and stuff. But I, don't get me wrong, I love connecting over food, but that's not the only way
Yeah.
that we can connect as a community. So that said, thank you for your heart in the church, and thank you for serving in the church. Blessings to you and your husband as you guys plant out there in Utah. I imagine that's been quite the endeavor too, which I hope we'll pray over before we end this. But finally, I'd like to help listeners understand how to best connect with you, because
Mm.
as much as I've enjoyed talking to you, we're coming up on our hour here, and so it's something we could continue talking about. Maybe we'll have another conversation in the future if it's pertinent. But I'd like for listeners to know how they can best connect with you. I've got some resources in the show notes, but walk us through how to connect with you and what your content looks like.
Yeah. So I'm Torie Lin Fitness on all platforms. I'm primarily on Instagram. It's Lin. My dad wanted to put my middle name different. I don't know why, but it's Tori, IE, and then Lin Fitness. Instagram mostly, Facebook. I actually have a homeschool fitness program that I released this last year.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I did that because my kids are homeschooled, and I'm like, hey, this would be a great resource for people who want to have, like you were saying, about wanting to keep their kids active, but they don't know how to do it, or they don't know how to bring in the faith with it. And so, but we talk about in that program, we talk about taking care of our minds, taking care of our bodies, taking care, like sleeping. What does healthy snacks look like? So it's simple enough that kids could get it, but there is movement pieces and stuff in there too. So anyways, I'm in all places, Torie Lin Fitness. I run some 6-week coaching stuff here and there. I just recently did a discipleship program where I kept it super small, but I wanted to do a like Bible study with the fitness component, but keep it small for the discipleship's sake. So I run those once in a while and just try and just connect. Like, I love people. I think I already said this, but I love people. I love connecting with people. I love hearing people's stories. And so anyone can reach out to me at any time. I do have a podcast as well called Rise with Tori, and I try and talk about these kind of things. I try and see like what people are feeling, what's going on in the world. And so I try and talk about that stuff and have guests on there talk about it as well. So
Awesome. Awesome. You have a very good podcast voice, by the way. I listened to
thank you.
I listened to a couple episodes of your podcast because, it's weird meeting people in the virtual online space. You can't high five. You don't really get a sense of the person. But when I do interviews, I like to hear what's going on in the world. And I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, I could probably fall asleep to her voice. Like, it's very soothing. Like, not in a boring way. It was just like, you have just a very soothing spirit about you. So thank you. Thank you for what you're putting out in the world. And I would encourage listeners to dive in and check out your stuff. There's going to be several resources in the show notes. So if you're listening to this either on YouTube or in the podcast world, you can find that below. Tori, before I let you go, I'd actually like to pray over your endeavor, and I'd like to pray over your church plant and your family, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, let's do it. Father God, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for the opportunity to spend with Tori and her endeavor with Torie Lin Fitness. God, I pray a special blessing over her husband, and her 3 children. God, I pray that your favor be on that household. I also pray, Lord, in their obedience to follow your lead, to plant a church in Utah. I pray, Lord, that you'll bless that effort and endeavor as well. I also pray your protection over her body, mind, and spirit as she helps other individuals with their body, minds, and spirits. And I pray for the listeners who have spent time with us today. Be glorified in this conversation and be glorified in our outcomes in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, guys, this has been Coach Alex Van Houten on the Faithful Fitness Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to check out Torie Lin at Torie Lin Fitness at all of the resources below in the show notes. And until next time, train hard and pray harder.
Hey, if this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a raving review so more people can find Faithful Fitness. Oh, and my dad's new devotional is almost out now. You can grab a copy for yourself and then join our free community at Better Daily by clicking on the links in the show notes below. We all have a cross to carry, but it's lighter when we do it together. So check out both links in the show notes. Don't be a big mo Bob, just do it. Until next time, don't forget, train hard and pray even harder.